Morning everybody. I do have a quick question for everybody before we get started, and one of the things I don't understand is why people don't pick up their boats when it's raining. Is it because they don't want them to get wet or something? I mean, I'm a little bit confused about this, but anyway, people don't want to pick up their boats. So Michael has more videos than his phone and his little hard drive will hold. I don't know why he's not posting, but I do know why he's not posting, because he's been extremely busy doing boats. And as we've said 100 times before, the fact of the matter is he's got to pay his bills. And so that's one of the reasons we need to work on getting the content out. I look like you guys do every Friday and no content, and I don't blame you for being a little bit disappointed and upset. But anyway, this boat here came in for a 100-hour service, and he was having trouble with his graphs. And so after Michael kind of checked it out, it had a Group 24 battery in the back, 12 volt, running 3 graphs and his motor. And the wire size coming at the front of the boat was horrid. I mean, I don't know what the person was thinking that wired this boat, but anyway. So I put a Group 27 in because of size constraints, and rewired the correct, or what we feel is the correct size wiring, so that you get good images on your Dumaflotches. See, it's been so long since I've done this, I can't even remember what these damn things are called anymore. But anyway, Dumaflotches. And this guy's got different Dumaflotches, okay? And we're going to take up a charitable collection to get Hugh a new shirt, okay? We're accepting all better airflow. We're accepting all donations so we can get you a new shirt. But anyway, as you can see, we're real busy here today with the rain. So they ran the correct wire, etc. That is very, very critical for your imaging. The other thing is to make sure that your Dumaflotche down here, you're reading Dumaflotche, not you're looking at Dumaflotche, but this thing here, what's this called?
Transducer.
This transducer is located in the correct place. This was located down there, and as you pointed out, it has a channel in there, and probably 90% of his problem was it was getting air, and that's one of the reasons why that was not working correctly. So they got that moved to the correct place. I really don't understand why they didn't put it there in the first place, because all the holes and everything were there for it. So that's kind of one of those weird ass things that you see. Hey, it is what it is. Guy's happy, but he won't come and get his boat because it's raining. This one here, the tilt trim. The customer service their own tilt and trim. And now, I'm all for you guys doing your own work. Let me tell you, I'm one of those kind of guys myself. But if you don't know what you're doing, okay, be careful. Secondly, I get very nervous when we have all these up in the air. Make sure that you have your safeties, make sure your safeties are in good shape, make sure your safeties are working correctly. If in doubt, get some kind of lift, put a strap on it. It makes me really nervous when these guys are working on these things at times when they have all of this out back here. But anyway, what ends up happening is, if you don't bleed these correctly and do it correctly, they become you create a kind of like a big problem for yourself. So if you don't know what you're doing, sometimes it's just better not to do it. Just take it to somebody who knows what they're doing and get it done the first time, because sometimes in trying to fix somebody else's problem, it takes longer than just doing it yourself. Bleeding these can be a real pain in the rear end. So it's just one of those things. Sometimes Michael can do it, get it first time. Sometimes it takes twice. The other thing is, this had a leak on one of them, even though it had been serviced, so we had to end up replacing the cap on it, that kind of stuff. So pretty good looking little boat. I think this is a high school fishing boat, correct? High school fishing boat. High school fishing tournaments are on right now, and so we're happy to be involved with that and help bring along these young fishermen, get into the sport, etc. So over here, I don't really know where to start with this thing. This is another high school fishing boat. I don't know how much you guys know about that, but they have to have a captain aboard. They're not allowed to be out there by themselves. So you have 2 fishing people and somebody has to be the captain on the boat. I believe they have to have a captain's license. No? Just have to be an adult. Well, that would rule me out.
18.
You have to be 18. Okay, not so sure about those. But anyway, I think it's important that if you've got 2 young people in your boat that you act responsibly, etc. That's for all fishermen. But this boat here is another high school boat. Changed out the impeller on it, make sure everything's right there. This boat kind of has some issues getting up on plane, etc. The boat came with one size prop, we switched to a different size prop, and then another thing happened with the prop. And so sometimes, it's kind of like Michael said to me, you know, when they put the motor combination with the boat, you know, Mercury send people out and they do all that to make sure the boat is working correctly. So if you change your prop, make sure you do homework on it. Prop change-outs can become very expensive, etc. So this boat was having trouble getting up on the plane. Michael and his good friend Ike, really like Ike. He's down-to-earth engineer, super nice guy. He's worked with us in the past on other projects. So anyway, I really like him. They took it out, kind of diagnosed what the problem is, and basically have got this semi-fixed. The other thing was we spoke to some people that have been fishing for many years, many years, okay? Almost as old as me. Each boat, as they brought up, has a different way that you have to drive it. Some boats it's flat out, some boats it's flat out, back off, etc. So you've got to kind of get familiar with your boat. It's not, my understanding from listening to them, it's not one size fits all, which is always interesting because that's something else I learned from listening to these guys. Their input is very valuable. They work on a lot of different boats. They fish out of a lot of different boats. They have a lot of expertise. And so those are the guys it's always good to get their input from. And, you know, so hopefully we've got this heading in the right direction. Not 100% sure it's 100% solved. But it is heading in a good direction. We've ruled out certain things, etc. It would be optimum to drop this motor down, to be very honest with you, but you can't because the steering will hit. So, you know, sometimes there's variables in there. I mean, it's even as far as now I kind of understand why some of these jack plates are wider to pull the motor away from the back of the boat. But that presents a lot of problems itself. So I think basically between the prop changes and stuff, at least it's got it back on track. And sometimes you can go down a rabbit hole, right, and create yourself more problems than you realize. Sometimes it's just better enough to leave it alone and move on down the road. Also, the starter was hanging up on this. So it would go up and engage, and then obviously wouldn't drop down. So initially we ordered the parts for that to replace them. We took the top of it off, replaced them. But then when we got it working correctly, you could tell that the starter motor, I think probably what had happened to it one time is it had gone up, engaged, the motor started, didn't disengage, and kind of screwed up the starter motor is my feeling about it. Obviously I don't know because I wasn't on the boat, but that was an obviously situation. So we ended up having to replace the starter because quite honestly, really what it boiled down to, do you feel comfortable that you have it, you know, if it sounds like a bag of nails, it's probably not going to work very long. So that's what Michael did. I think personally, in hindsight, but you don't want to spend people's money, right? So if $20 worth of parts will get it fixed versus $200 worth of parts, sometimes it's better to spend the $20. If we'd have probably been able to listen to the starter motor, we probably would have said to replace it straight away. One of the problems is that if it gets up and gets hung up, it can actually break the mounts. And we've seen that. We've had boats come in and they have literally, you can tell it's engaged and it's ripped the mounts off the motor itself, not the starter motor. So you want to be careful about those things. You might want to look at your Bendix, make sure your Bendix have a little bit of lubrication on it. I don't know what the correct lubrication is, should have looked it up for you, but you might want to make sure that your Bendix is working correctly, okay? And I've got to say, I really like this boat. I really like the look of this boat. It barely fits in the building. I think we have like 2 inches to spare, 1 inch to spare. So you got to hold the door up to get it in, is what Michael's telling me. We couldn't find his microphone, so I apologize. This originally came in, huh?
It wasn't peeing.
Oh, it wasn't peeing. I thought it came in because it wasn't going up and down. Okay. So it wasn't peeing correctly. Michael fixed that, replaced the impeller, did all the stuff down there. Thermostats as well. The other thing about this is, has this been in salt water or not? We went through this with the other center console, and he found some stuff that you can flush your motor. It really helped that motor out no end. That motor was it was a Yamaha motor. Oh, just like this one. It was an older version of this, but it was a Yamaha motor. That thing just screamed. I mean, it sounded awesome. But the problem was, like a lot of people probably didn't take care of it, what came out of the water, didn't flush the salt water out. So Michael found this stuff and we flushed it. Well, we did a lower thing and it still wasn't working right. On and on and on. We blew air through it, we did everything. But anyway, we replaced the thermostats, all that stuff. But he did find this stuff. What's it called? I don't know what it's called. Salt off or something. We'll find out and let you know. That stuff worked and really helped that motor out. So anyway, this now is peeing correctly. The other thing is it wasn't going up and down, which when it first arrived, it wasn't going up and down. Then Michael takes this off and touches the ground wire, and Bob's your uncle. But the ground wire was not crimped correctly. We've talked about crimps before, and it was in there, but it wasn't, literally you could pull it in and out. So Michael got the right stuff, crimped it, heat shrunk it, and it worked just fine. I mean, we checked it half a dozen times. And so, of course, the customer gets it, works whilst he's here, gets out on the water. It
worked most of the day and then stopped.
Yeah, it worked most of the day and then stopped. So he brought it back. We ended up changing out the relays, etc. I do not like the way they have the relays mounted in this. The relays are tie wrapped up in here. I don't think it's the best situation, but that's the way they did it. So now it's working again. It's been working just fine. We did check the wiring to make sure there was no issues with the wiring. We homed the wires, or metered the wires, or whatever, I can't remember. My head's not working today. So check the switches, all that stuff to make sure there's not a problem that you know of. Hopefully it resolved the problem as we move forward. I don't know what else to say about this bad boy. What else did we do to this? Trolling motor is gone. So Michael's telling me the trolling motor is getting serviced. What was wrong with the trolling motor?
It's stowed.
Okay, so I guess this was one of those automatic ones. So this is an automatic one, and it wasn't stowed correctly. So it's out for service to get that done. Obviously we get it back, we can get this out of here. I really like this boat. This is a returning customer. He has, I think, 2 or 3 boats, if my memory serves me right. So it's always nice when a customer comes back to you, and literally, it's one of the highest compliments when people come back and bring you more work. So good looking boat. He's telling me we've got a bigger one arriving, but literally he is set up to do that work in one day because we cannot get it in the building. We do not like to leave customers' boats outside. I just think it invites issues. And we live in a pretty nice neighborhood here, but it does invite people. You have somebody's big ass boat sitting out there, you never know what's going to happen. So with that one, we're going to have to get it in, do the work, and get it picked up in the same day. It puts a lot of pressure on Michael and Hugh, but that's what you got to do sometimes, and that's what we're going to do to take care of the client. Okay, we don't want to gamble with somebody else's property. So we like to keep everybody's boats inside where we can take care of it, that they don't get wet. So, oh, and we have another boat back there. I don't know if the lights are on. Are the lights on? Okay, so we're in Bay 3, where we very rarely ever put boats back here. But to be honest with you, we've got so many boats, and we've got boats arriving, and it's raining, so we don't really want people's boats outside because we don't want them to get wet. So, those of you that have followed Michael for a while will recognize this boat. This boat has been in several times to have work done to it, upgrades, all kinds of different stuff. The client wanted the wiring cleaned up on this boat, and Hugh and Michael did an awesome job on it. I was really impressed. Hugh, can you go get one of my lights, one of the snap-on lights? So what they did, we'll get a light so you can see in there. I apologize, like I said, we very rarely have boats back here, but they took out all the wiring that was not being used, then identified all the wiring that was in there, put a new fuse panel in, labeled all the wiring, make sure it was routed correctly, as nice as you can. One of the problems you run into when you're doing this kind of work is if there's not enough slack, you have to kind of work around those kind of things. So on a couple of the wires, they don't go exactly where we would like them to go, but there's not enough slack. And it's fairly good sized wire, and we don't want to spend the client's money to do that unless we absolutely have to. In this particular case, it's not necessary. It would make it look a little bit prettier, but at the end of the day, it's not really going to make a difference. When the light arrives, you'll be able to see in there and see the work that they did. I'm really proud of both of them because, quite honestly, they asked me to take a look at it. It's always easy to criticize somebody else's work, but the few things that I suggested made no difference at all. So it makes me happy that I really believe that these guys have really come a long way. They're kind of looking at things the way that I look at them. And I think he must be chasing down the street after the snap-on truck like an old dog, okay, for crying out loud. Hold on a sec, let me go get my own snap-on light. Okay, so as you can see and hear, really nice job, well laid out, well thought out. Obviously this is working in the constraints of what is already there. So if you have a situation that you're rewiring it, then you can kind of work, you know, it's a different situation. So this is kind of like taking out old stuff. I don't think there's any new stuff in there other than labeling. The fuse panel is new, etc. So that way, this particular boat is a lot better laid out for him. He had some problems. One of the things you need to figure out too is if you have problems with your boat, electrical tape is not the answer. I'm sorry, it is not the answer. It will never ever be the answer. It is the answer in an emergency situation. If you're out on the water and you have a crisis, yeah, have some electrical tape with you. But that is not the answer. Laying ground wires on top of one another and wrapping around with electrical tape is not going to fix anything for a long period of time. You're going to end up with problems. So, you know, that's something, especially if you buy a used boat, that's kind of like a winter project that you can go through and fix those things yourself, make sure that your grounds and everything are done really well, and that your wiring is in tip-top condition as you can. If you're not familiar with any wiring, there's a lot of good videos out there, a lot of YouTube videos out there, but make sure you do your homework, that you know what you're doing. If you're not comfortable doing it, just don't do it. So anyway, Michael promised me that he's going to get some videos out to you, but if you like this video, like, subscribe, share, and if you're in the Lake Jackson, Conroe, Angleton, anywhere close to Houston and want your boat worked on, please give them a shot. They would really enjoy to earn your business. So thank you.